Hi there, welcome back. So I just wanted to hop on real quick and give some hopefully encouraging messages to others who are kind of in that place after January 6th, thinking that, maybe all hope is lost and that there might not be anything for us to actually do. And that, I've seen lots of people making mental concessions, feeling like maybe she was actually spared by God to not be in the position of 47 because it would just be straight hate and chaos for the next 4 years. But what I know and feel is that if they are allowed, that other I don't even want to say the name, but that supposed incoming administration, if they are allowed to be seated, it's going to be nothing but chaos. We will not get away from the chaos, not one day. It has already started, it has continued, and it will continue to ensue. I just want to give a little bit of tough love for 2 seconds and tell you all, firstly, we don't have the luxury. We don't have the luxury of giving up hope. It's not on the menu. Those days are done. We are in this moment in time where that's pretty much all we have. We have that, we have our voice, and we have each other. We have those on the ground organizing marches and protests, and those a part of the legal industry filing lawsuits left and right, and people like me really doing our best to toe the line here, keep people informed, keep us with the light, and the hope that we need to see it through these very treacherous, unprecedented, dark, spaces of the unknown. And I think that might be the reason that people have, in part, given up, what hope they did have, because this is kind of foreign to us. First of all, we're not processing it well, not collectively. We still got people completely doubting what may have happened here. And we are also not accustomed to giving space and time to processing things of this magnitude, and especially not things all at once like this, right? It seems like everything is happening all at once. And so it's a lot. And I totally get it. And there's tension involved and not enough headspace and not enough time, because we've got lives as well. There's work to do, there's school to go to, there are children to take care of, there are bills to pay, then we've got to turn around and take care of ourselves. And so I totally get it. But again, we're not in the place where we have the luxury to kind of just give up hope and hope for the best over this next 4 years. First of all, nothing that I have seen from my guide says that it would only be 4 years. And what's happening in California right now, first of all, I'm just so disgusted and heartbroken for the people who are involved, who have lost their homes, who have lost their lives, who don't have anywhere to go right now, because where can that amount of people, they all of a sudden need somewhere to go immediately. And it is a lot, it's a lot happening. And so I get that. And so what's happening in California right now, some intuitives have already tuned in. I did not. And I don't feel like like I will. But I have a feeling, right? So some intuitives have already tuned in about it and said that it was not an accident. And so if you thought that the chaos might be curbed, if this is just all said and done, you know, better to know what direction we're headed and to have it finalized and, you know, deal with the aftermath once it's here, kind of thing. If you thought that that might be better, I don't feel like it will. Now, of course, I can totally be wrong. But what I see is that the orange blob, as a chaos agent that he is, has a plan here. And it is to stoke more chaos so then he can declare martial law once he's in office. And then he can do whatever the heck he wants to do. Number one would be throwing all illegal immigrants out, and probably even legal immigrants, because why would he stop there? And so we know this path here that he is wanting to chart out. So we don't have the luxury of just giving up and stopping short and saying this isn't our fight, it's not our business. It may not be our lesson to learn. 92, I'm talking to you. But we do live here, and we will be affected, and we will have to do many things that we don't want to do. So one thing we can do right now is to hold the vision of 47, of her taking her rightful place. Hold the vision of unity, because that is what we need now and moving forward. Because even if she is allowed to take her rightful place, there's still a lot collectively that will need to be processed. And we got to do that together. Now, last night, before I fell asleep, I had this vision, because I was tuning in and asking about Lightworkers and what we need to do, and if we're doing whatever that is. And I tuned in and I saw a crowd of us standing there kind of in a triangle, and everyone had a lantern. And I get these images of people holding the light, people being the light, people affecting others with their light. And I've been getting those a lot recently. And so in this image, everyone had a lantern, and most were women. Actually, all. I can't even say most. All were women. And they were all holding their lanterns together. And that was the only thing lighting up the dark sky. So that message to me in that image was extremely powerful, because it's just reiterating to me what I was feeling already. We got to keep that hope. We got to keep that light, and we got to keep shining it. And we've got to call on others who may be able to help us. And remember why we chose to be here in this moment in time right now. It was not a coincidence. I have heard from people who had near-death experiences, and I have seen in many meditations that I've had over the past, I don't know, maybe 10 years or so, that we choose. It's almost like a contract is drawn up. When my father died, he showed me a tablet. right before he died, actually, in a dream. And he kept telling me, you don't understand. It's here. It's written on the tablet. And so that was his way of coming to me in a dream and telling me that he was about to die. And so I've seen in my meditations, and I've heard from others, that we choose before we incarnate what our mission is, what abilities we will have, what cause we're going to fight, what time period we're going to incarnate, what the conditions are going to be, who our parents are going to be, what our bigger lessons and pillars of life will be once we get here. And then, of course, we've got our free will and personality, and those things alter, or, well, I want to say complicate complicate those things along the way for better or worse, right? And so if we all chose to be here, we got to ask ourselves why. Why in this weird ass moment in time where we're facing a path of evil and one of decent, dare I say good, why do we choose to come right here to this moment? It surely wasn't to be a passive observer. It surely wasn't to just throw our hands up and say, oh, there's nothing to do. So I'm going to leave that question for you to answer. I know my answer. I've been shown it. I've been told it. I was told it 7 years ago or so. When it felt like I was told almost too early. Because then I kept looking for this next era. And it was like, so what next era? Everybody's just going through the motions here like they've always been doing. And yeah, there's been people I've helped, but I'm not seeing this next era that you keep talking about, you know. And it felt like I was waiting so long that I forgot. I won't lie. I forgot it was possible. I forgot that it was something that was down the line here, relatively soon in the larger span of time, I guess, if you're looking at it from that view. And so just ask yourself, why did I choose to be here right now in this moment? And if you can't find that answer and you're not quite sure, just join me in holding the light. Join me in holding that vision again, as I've said before. Join me in holding that possibility of unity in a different way than we understand it, right? In that sense of community and of togetherness and of making time to process things that actually need to be processed, of not being overworked and underpaid, of having our lives reflect back to us in ways that best support our evolution, because that's where we're headed. Which brings me to the messages that I received this morning or afternoon in a brief meditation. So there is about a 30-year reboot that is taking place, that's happening right now. That was one of the messages that I received. In addition to that, the beings They show up to me as blue in my mind's eye. When I'm given images from my council, the beings show up as blue light, and I just know that that's what that blue light references. And so I know, like I mentioned on my last video, we've kind of put that aside because we don't really have the space to process all of these things at once. There's been limited information about it. They've kind of stopped talking about it in the news. And so we've just sort of let it rest. We've got other things, other headlines that are calling our attention. But these beings, they're here for a reason. They're here to help us move in that direction of this new era. And they briefly ran down an outline to me of between, 2031 to 2050. We'll be preparing as a collective, and as all of the people on earth will be doing, to operate optimally, so to speak, in that our mental and spiritual intelligence will definitely be heightened. And they made a comparison to ancient Egyptian times and said we'll kind of be, at that level at the end of 2050. And in 2031 is when they'll be among us in mass. At least that's what I was told. Not that there won't be sightings of them before then, but the conditions will be right to be among us more frequently and consistently, and without us feeling like they are here to harm us or threaten us in any way. Up until that point, between now and 2031, they'll mostly be communicating with us telepathically, to give us downloads and messages and upgrades that way. So I know how this sounds. It sounds pretty crazy. And at the beginning, not today, but when they first started introducing themselves to me in dreams and in my mind's eye, it sounded crazy to me too. And I thought, oh my God, what is this? What is happening? Have I just totally lost my mind? But I think that that's the reason that they are coming to us telepathically that way first, to ease us into this. It will not be some sudden wham bam, now they're everywhere, out of the oblivion, here they are. No, we will be used to the idea and comfortable with it in a way where we can accept it. I've heard from people outside of the intuitive community that they're getting dreams and messages and saying, I think there's 2 groups of them. Well, so, this is not just something that the intuitives are experiencing or seeing or feeling either. And so we've got to give a little more, or at least that gives a little more weight to it. And that is one more reason that we need community and unity, right? Because aside from maybe a handful of people scattered throughout history, or, a couple handfuls, no one has really experienced this. And so we've got to collectively process this. And some of us are farther along on our spiritual journey than others, who may have tools that, those who are just beginning can use. And so this is something that we're really going to have to do together. And in this next era, in the future coming up here, people like me who have intuitive gifts are going to be taken a lot more serious than we have been in the past. Of course, there's always charlatans in any industry. It doesn't matter which one. I mean, And I'm sure you've got many examples as I do. So discernment is always key, but intuitives will be more out front, right? Because there's tons of organizations that utilize intuitive, those who have intuitive skills or the intuitive arts, and they're just quite hidden at the moment. And so, okay, back to the vision. So some were saying that I've heard recently that maybe she was number 47, she was spared by God because there would be so much hate for the next 4 years that she'd have to endure. And that would really be a drain on all of us. I don't think that's the case. In fact, I feel quite the opposite, that she's quite instrumental in helping us bring about this next era. And so I wholeheartedly stand by that image that I've seen multiple times of her taking her place, right? There on the stage, as she rightly deserves and won, and our nation needs. And I was watching someone's video earlier today, and they mentioned an image, and I remember that I had a similar vision in, I think it was November, around the time that I hadn't found many people talking about all the fraud that most likely happened, but I was just feeling it and getting images, and having dreams about it. And I remember I had asked my guides, I was like, okay, so what's gonna happen to us, moving forward here? How is this gonna play out? And as the person mentioned on their video today, I saw an image of us as, just as a society, kind of around like the late 60s, the early 70s. And I know many things were happening. We were in the middle of coming to the end of the Vietnam War. Things were not all squared away in terms of what we needed, as far as civil rights and lots of laws that were in place that didn't support us. But it took me to an image of that time, and it was highlighting that kind of hippie peace and love and unity, while we reworked those more traditional structures that really didn't work for us as a society. In addition to that, just envision what, the best of the best that you can envision for yourself, for your family, for your community. And I don't just mean things. I mean systems that support us, schedules that support us, laws that reflect back in our just and fair and what we need, and spaces, that invite us, that are harmonious, a peaceful existence, freedom to do the things that we love and that we want to. And so those things, right? And just feel into them, write that list, because it's building me up right here as I'm speaking them out loud. And whenever you are in that place where hope is dwindling again and you think, oh God, what is this? We can't do it. Pull out that list and run through it again and feel into it again. Okay? Because every time you do that, it shines the light, and it gets stronger, and it becomes more effective, and inch by inch it becomes more possible, and eventually we do, and we will get there. So, okay, I will leave it there. And if you found this video helpful in any way, please hit the like and subscribe and set your notifications, and I will see you next time. One more thing before I go. So I started what I call the Spiritualist Collective. And right now it's just for Black women because we need something that's just for us, that's sacred, that's safe. And we get together virtually and share our intuitive gifts and deepen our skills and build community. And in the future, I'll be opening it up to everyone. But if this sounds like something you're interested in, I'm going to have the link in the description, and hopefully I'll see you there.